Welcome everyone to We Are Family number 15. You guys are probably wondering, why are we in a different location? Well, that's a mystery. So without further ado.
No, it's not. It's actually not a mystery because I forgot to reserve the CMI location down on campus. So they kind of sent us up here to the Benedum building, not the Benedum Theater, which is, they were telling me we're going to go to the Benedum. I said, what? The Benedum Theater? What are you guys talking about? And so they were like, the Benedum building. I was like, okay, I know where that is now. I get what you're saying. And now here we are on the 10th floor, and this is a very nice, it's the Pittsburgh Downtown Media Hub. Shout out to them. Yep. They're partnered with the CMI at Point Park. This is a very, very nice setup. We're going to have to come here more often. The setup is a lot easier, actually. The mics, I kind of like the mics a little more. They're not as big and in your way, and they're more movable. I wish we had a table, but other than that, I really like the setup. So thank you to the CMI for helping us get this episode together here. This is really, really nice.
And I didn't want to blow your cover, but it's okay. It's all good. So without further ado, let's get right into Pitt football. Unfortunately, they lost a terrible game, probably the worst game they've played all year against Virginia. In my opinion, this is the worst game. I know they got blown up to SMU, but come on, Virginia, that should have been a win. You guys know I was angry after the fact, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, we were all angry. It was just such a terrible performance. And, the SMU game, SMU's a good team. It was a blowout. You kind of thought that could happen. The Virginia game, you're clearly a better team talent-wise. Record-wise, you're much better. Virginia has not been playing well recently. And when the line goes out, you're only 7-point favorites. It kind of raises some red flags initially already. But then there's no way they lose this game, right? Virginia, and then, oh man, Eli Holstein getting hurt. But even then, you still had so many chances to win this game. And I know that call at the end, we're going to replay the down on 4th down. Pitt would have got the stop. Pitt would have got the ball back. It's a good chance. Likely they would have won, but it shouldn't come down to that one play. No matter what, they were just not good at all in that game. Nate Yarnell, who I like Nate Yarnell, but he was thrust into a tough situation.
He's not good.
But those throws were not ill-advised.
Two of the worst throws of the season,
right?
Unfortunately.
Well, here's where I kind of disagree because, and I've been saying this, Pitt isn't that talented of a team. They're not. They've exceeded expectations going 7-0. I mean, I think they're better than probably a little more than half of the ACC, but they exceeded expectations going 7-0. This is still a roster that's still not that deep and that talented as we saw maybe in, 2021. I mean, it's not close to that. And you have a young quarterback and the defense, the young secondary, although the defense overall has gotten better. Narduzzi's scheme can drive you crazy, but they have gotten better. I will say that from a fundamental standpoint. And the linebacker core is excellent. That's the strength of that team. But, Pitt, what Pitt was doing so well is their offense. They were just moving the ball so well with Cade Bell and his scheme. And with Eli Holstein, he was very impressive. But you could tell, okay, he probably should have had some more picks than he had. He can't really read the field. He's a little inaccurate at times, a little wild, but the talent is there, the athleticism is there. So we kind of knew he would regress to the means. But teams have figured out this scheme a little bit. I mean, a little bit. I don't totally blame this on Cade Bell at all because, I do a little, but I don't. I feel like, you got to get the run game going way more than they have. I mean, they just get way too pass happy. And this is what I saw even during the winning streak. They get way too pass happy, and it's very risky. And we've seen that not play out as well for them. And they got to get that run going. They got to get some vertical runs going. It's always just side-to-side runs with Desmond Reed. I'd like to see them get Rodney Hammond more involved. Desmond Reed has been incredible. But I want to really talk about Eli Holstein. Yes, I think they put too much on his shoulders. And yes, we knew he would regress to the means. But it's not like he's just like, oh, he's had a couple picks here and there, but you expect your young quarterback to get better as the season goes along. And we've seen him just get progressively worse. I mean, we know the kid can't see the field, but last week he's missing layups. They're easy throws. I mean, there was this one play I reposted on Twitter. The kid was wide open. He might have ran in for a 70-yard touchdown, and Holstein just skipped it into the ground. And Nate, we were talking to someone we know we're not going to say any names, but someone we know in the league or who has been involved in the NFL. And he's saying, I watched this Holstein kid in the spring, and I just don't see it. And I'm wondering if it was kind of just a Linsanity run with Eli Holstein, because I'd expect him to improve his abilities as a passer and abilities to read the defenses, and we just haven't seen that at all. And I'm concerned about Eli Holstein, and I know the athleticism, the talent, the arm is there, but I that's kind of what we saw with Christian Vier too. So I feel like this could be a more advanced Christian Vier than like the next future great quarterback at Pitt. And that's where my concern is right now with this team. And overall, I mean, you'd think that they would come out ready to play and, more prepared. But with Narduzzi, despite getting their ass kicked last week, that wasn't the case at all.
Yeah, I think I have a couple takeaways about that game, just like from being there, like you guys know. But I watched them come out of the tunnel, and they did not look pumped up at all. It was just like they were going through the motions, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, here we go again.
And what specifically did you see? Like, how could you tell?
Usually, like,
because this man goes to every game.
Usually there'll be guys like jumping up, all pumped up, and there it was just like them just going out of the tunnel like business as usual.
And that's on the head coach. And you know how I feel about him. So
yeah, and to me, Holstein, while he did miss some throws, he did show a couple, like not much, but a couple flashes of his old self. But I just saw him get under pressure constantly.
Oh, the O-line, I forgot about. The O-line was terrible. I mean,
Branson Taylor not being healthy is detrimental because he's a potentially NFL lineman. Like, I think he's the only really good lineman that we have right now. And Holstein was just under pressure constantly. And the Pitt receivers didn't do him any favors either. I know he missed a few throws, but they dropped, 5-6 passes? I mean, Bartholomew, he's like a surefire guy. He dropped 2 passes. He hasn't
been involved at all this year, which I think is on the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
And then you had Poppy Williams, who, while 2 of his drops they were penalized for holding anyway. I mean, those could have still been huge plays. Like, I still trust Cade Bell a lot. I just don't think the execution is there. And while I do feel like SMU kind of figured Cade Bell out a little bit, I think, teams are starting to, but I still feel confident. Like, I still see these guys wide open. I mean, Yarnell, on the last pick he threw, he had a wide open CJ Lee for a first down and decided to go for the home run ball. I mean, Cade Bell is getting guys open. It's just the line's not executing. The quarterback's the quarterback's not
throws,
executing.
And that's what I'm saying. The throws are there for Holstein. I mean, Holstein is missing layups too. I mean, we know Nate Yarnell just isn't that talented, but the layups are there and they're not hitting them, and that's on the quarterback. And I think that teams are just throwing. Well, first of all, the pressure has been there, and what we have seen. Another thing that's frustrating with Holstein is he won't stick in the. Sometimes he does. But then he tries to step up and run.
Yeah.
And we saw that to that Desmond Reed play. It was so strange. He stepped up and tried to run, and then he threw across his body. Yeah. The linebacker was right. The Desmond Reed makes that catch somehow, gets past the linebacker. But he has to just stick in the pocket, and he has to hit. I think someone needs to work on his mechanics, because the fact that he's skipping balls into the ground like we've seen sometimes is just you got to hit the easy throws. You got to. And Holstein, if Nate Yarnell, I know Holstein is a game time decision with this concussion. And so if Nate Yarnell plays, I mean, they're going to get smacked. I think whoever plays, I think they're going to get smacked on Saturday. But Go ahead. What I don't know if you.
No, honestly, that's pretty much just sums up. And obviously, I think this was a very bad officiated game. But at the end of the day, Pitt should have won this game.
Right.
We have won games where the officiating was questionable,
No.
and this should have been a win by 2 scores.
They didn't deserve to. I
They
mean,
didn't
Pitt
deserve
didn't
to win at
deserve
all.
to win. They
I
played
agree.
horrifically.
They did.
The
Yeah, it
fact
was
that they
bad.
had a chance to go down and win that game, I mean, is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, Virginia is not a very good team. I mean,
Yeah.
but it goes to show Pitt in a way. I mean, when their quarterbacks aren't hitting the easy throws and the O-line was as bad as it was, and we don't have a downhill running game, that's
Right.
they're a very, very average to below average team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the killer has been the offensive line so far, just because it's just been a mess. And with the freshman quarterback, you need a solid offensive line.
And they put too much on Holstein. They
They do,
throw
yeah.
way too much.
Yeah, they do. And like you mentioned about Rodney Hammond, they actually might redshirt him. Did you see that? They're thinking about redshirting.
I think they should. I mean,
They probably should.
Daniel Carter's out of eligibility. I
Right.
mean, why not have him as your 2?
And when Daniel Carter was in last game, he was
Well,
getting
have
some
him,
good rushes.
because he's a downhill kid. They should give
Yeah.
him some more carries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Desmond Reed, I mean, he's their best offensive weapon. I mean, he's out there, he's getting killed out there. I mean, he's obviously dealing with some injuries,
Yeah.
and they still keep putting. I'm worried he's gonna blow a fuse here, and then we're not gonna have him.
Yeah. But I kind of disagree on the talent thing, because this is like actually one of the more talented teams that Pitt's had based on like ratings. Like there's a lot of former 4-star guys, especially on the defense. And some of these transfers I think are pretty good. Like obviously Des Reed is incredibly talented.
Yeah.
And we're like some of these receivers, they didn't show it last week, but I think Poppy Williams he's been really good overall for Pitt. He's better
They
than I
don't have
thought.
a true number one receiver.
Well,
though.
Kalate Mumfield's pretty good.
And you can make the case with Kenny Johnson, but neither have done enough
Yeah.
recently. So
And I don't think teams are really figuring out this like that much Cade Bell's offensive scheme. I think it's just lack of execution.
Yeah.
Like we were seeing on the SMU game.
Well, Holstein
missed a lot of throws.
after the Syracuse game, he's seeing coverages he's never seen before.
Well, I mean, that's to be expected, but because he's obviously a freshman, he's just starting out. But the SMU game, he missed so many easy throws. Like the one, it was 3rd down early in the game.
He skipped it. It was a
He
5-yard
skipped it.
throw.
Yeah, it was 3rd and 1. He skips the throw, would have been an easy first down.
Well,
Instead,
why aren't we running it? I mean, they need to use Holstein's legs more. And we saw that they were actually, because they'll run the ball and then they'll throw 3 times. But they were, on that drive where Holstein got hurt, they were running it. Okay. And then they did a read option. I think they need to do more than that. And then he got the first down. Of course, he gets his head.
Well, I don't like
he
him
gets his
running.
head blown off.
I think he's running too much. Actually,
Well,
I think it's
I'm talking about design runs. He's running out of the pocket
Yeah.
trying to run for first downs, but
Yeah.
that's on the quarterback for not staying in the pocket.
right.
There is talent there, but like, are they a top 25 team in the country kind of talent? No, they're a middle of the pack, slightly above the middle of the pack ACC team, and that's just what they are. I understand they have I mean, Holstein was a 5-star or a 4-star, whatever he was, but he still has a lot to learn and to figure out, because he's progressively gotten worse.
Well, I'm going to cut you guys off there. You guys want to go to Pitt Basketball? We'll talk about they have a big
game
matchup tonight.
Yeah, that's
we all
why.
have our Pitt
That's
gear.
why we're wearing all Pitt, even though we're so pessimistic about Pitt's outlook for football wise.
I just want to say the Clemson game. Your guys' outlook on that?
Pitt's going to lose by 17 or more, unfortunately.
Probably, but
I think the lines are just.
But
Clemson has too good of a defensive line for our offensive line.
Clemson's defense is
Well,
going
I don't
to
think
give
I don't
them
think Clemson's
fits.
going to score that much, though.
I don't
To be
think
honest,
it-
I think it will be like
It'll
lower
be
scoring.
27-10,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
We're not, especially if Yarnell's in. I mean, I think both of them are going to have trouble either way.
Have hope, a little bit of hope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be there. I mean, I'm going to have hope.
Oh,
But
that's right.
I mean, they're
There's a
gonna be
scenario.
fired up.
There's a scenario where Pitt wins this game, though, just because
There's
they're
always a
Pitt.
scenario, yeah.
They're Pitt, and they're the most
lose to Virginia, beat
unpredictable,
Clemson.
predictable team.
Narduzzi will have them fired up, but will they be overly fired up? And Clemson's defense, that's a top 20 defense in the country. And they haven't seen anything like that. Maybe a top 10, top 15 defense in the country. And Pitt football, and what am I saying? The offense, I mean, it's looked bad against Virginia and SMU. And Holstein's progressively gotten worse. And Yarnell stinks. It's going to be a rough go offensively.
All right, now to
basketball,
go to
sorry.
Pitt. No, you're good. We could go on all day about Pitt football, but no, they have a big matchup tonight. Pitt basketball. They're what 3-0 right now. I know
3-0.
that's probably dumb for me to ask, but no, they're 3-0. They have a big game against a better West Virginia team than last year. So what are your guys' thoughts about that?
Yeah, it'll improve for sure. Last year was just a dumpster fire, all the Bob Huggins drama. And their roster, when he was gone, they got completely depleted. Everybody transferred out.
Huggins was a legend down there.
yeah.
It's unfortunate.
But
what
they got
with the drunk driving.
They got a much better coach, a guy who's won at a mid-major in Drake and won big and made the NCAA tournament. He brought his son over, who's really good. They have several scoring options. Now they don't have very much depth. They don't at all. That's just the reality. First year, that's why they're 8.5-point underdogs right now to Pitt, but they're going to be. It's not going to be a pushover game. You know, there is a slightly better version of Murray State, who Pitt kind of played really close with for a while before pulling away late.
And that Murray State win is a good win for them because I think Murray State's going to be in it to win their conference.
Yeah.
And they could be in the NCAA tournament. So that was an important win. I mean, it was closer than the score indicates, but for them to pull away and win that game was big.
For sure. Yeah, and so far, what we've gotten from Jalen Lowe and Ish Leggett's been incredible.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Jalen Lowe, we thought he'd take that next step, and he has through three games against mid majors. He has.
But remember where he was last year.
Yeah, last
He's
year.
the star of the team now. Lowe.
Yeah, and Ish Leggett is averaging 20 a game, and
that's against. The thing is, we have to take.
But he did really well as a six-man. He averaged double figures, and I think he's going to.
My concern with him is he going to be as good as a starter as he is as a six-man.
I think he's going to be better.
I think with how this team is designed, like Bub Carrington, like it made it so tough for a guy like Ish Leggett because they're not the same player, but like they're kind of like similar in a way. Like now that like pretty much our starting five are completely different players, I think it makes Ish Leggett's game stand out more because he's the only guy getting double-doubles in terms of points and rebounds.
They're both very ball-dominant, kind of centric players who can they're slashers who can drive, and Ish Leggett's really improved his three-point shooting. He said he really worked on that over the summer, and he's looked really good so far from three. And Damian Dunn was a big transfer addition, a veteran guy who's played on NCAA tournament, really good teams like in Houston. And he's been a nice player so far as well, who can hit the mid-range a little bit. I like the team overall this year. I think NCAA tournament for sure is within reach, and it should be expected, especially in this conference, which is, it's been the premier conference in college basketball, but not anymore, unfortunately, because
it's still good. I mean, we saw maybe not. It's not as impressive in the regular season, but who was there at the end in the ACC?
I agree,
100%.
These teams still have pedigree, and I think that the problem with the tournament, we saw this last year. They're taking teams. They take too much into account what happens in November and December.
Yeah,
and that's what hurt Pitt. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem in basketball because there's so many games and a team. It's different than football. These teams more often than not always get better in some way, shape, or form. So it should be about kind of how college football does it. Who's the best team right now? Mm-hmm. And I feel like Pitt got screwed. A lot of teams got screwed, and somehow Virginia got in, and they were an embarrassment.
A couple teams got in that shouldn't have got in.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure. Virginia.
Pitt was what Clemson was the year before. I mean, Clemson was a tournament team 2 years ago. And, the ACC in the history never had a team like Clemson and Pitt do so well in the ACC overall and not make it. Well, Clemson was the first best team in the ACC.
Clemson beat Pitt and Virginia, didn't they? I mean, they beat
2 years ago. Yeah, Clemson beat Pitt 2 years ago. Yeah,
I'm talking about last year. Did they get in last? They were in.
They were in
last year.
They were good last year. Yeah, but there has definitely been a disrespect to the ACC. I agree. I'm just saying, they've been disrespected, but they're still not like the Big
Coach
12.
K and the other guy from Roy Williams was there. It's not quite like that.
Like right now, they're projected like 6 teams, and NC State last year obviously had the crazy run, but they weren't. We know over the whole season they weren't.
We beat them twice.
We swept them. Yeah, that should have been automatically brought Pitt in. We swept NC State,
and they're a Final Four team.
Yeah. So,
but hope should be high. I mean, and if you look at. I think they could win the ACC. I'm not being.
Yeah, I mean, very well could.
Because Duke has a ton of freshmen again. They got Cooper Flagg, But really, I was
that
watching
guy,
them.
That guy is a monster.
He's very good. But I was watching them against Kentucky. They're still very inexperienced, and they got some of these freshmen.
get
I don't
better.
know. I think they'll get better, but I don't know. And then North Carolina, Pitt's shown that's kind of a similar team as in years past, and Pitt's shown they can compete with them and beat them. And I think their team's better this year. So Pitt.
I think the big keys for Pitt, we know their guard play is overall going to be good, and Jalen Lowe has to become that guy, and hopefully he will. You talk about Ish Leggett can, because remember last year when he was a starter, he wasn't all that good, and then they moved him to the sixth man, and he succeeded. So will he be able to succeed in that role? So far, and as a starter, he has. So those guys got to be good, which I think we expect. The big thing with Pitt is what are they going to look like on the glass? Because that has been the problem. The rebounding has been a problem.
I think Cam Corhan is a better rebounder.
I'm looking forward to. I'm going to keep my eye on this Corhan kid because I mean, he was a good player at Florida State. You expect him to be better. And Guillermo Diaz-Graham, I'm not a fan, but the fact that they're moving him off the glass a little bit, where he can be a little more dynamic and shoot and pass and set screens and all of that. And hit some mid-range shots, maybe kind of drive to the hoop, and let Corn take care of the rebounding. Hopefully that works out, but they have to be strong on the glass to go along with that good guard play, and that'll make them a complete team. Because we saw Diaz, Graham, Federico, it wasn't working out.
There was a ceiling for Federico, and it was fairly low.
Who do they have? Who's on their? Let's go over who's on their bench.
They got a deep bench this year. Actually, they have their deepest bench. They have Brandon Cummings, obviously,
right,
the freshman who has looked really good so far. Yeah,
Zach Austin's their sixth.
Zach Austin is coming off the bench already.
Nice. He's good,
and he's been blocking like 5 shots in these games already.
And the other
Austin's like he's not like too tall, but he's a thicker guy.
Yeah,
he has a great vertical.
He can rebound. Right. He rebounds
and
nice.
Like you mentioned, Jake Jorge Diaz-Graham. Expect a little more out of him this year. I know he's kind of the lesser of the two Diaz-Grahams, but he still should provide a little bit more. Offensively,
and you can't forget about Papa Conte too. I know he struggled a little bit, but you have to also realize he's out.
You can't have Cam Corn in there as your main rebounder the whole game. So Austin's going to have to make some rebounds from the guard position, and this Papa Conte that they got needs to come in and step up. I hope they're going to get him more involved.
Yeah, and I think he hasn't.
He's a 4-star, right?
Yeah.
He decommitted from Michigan. He was like top 100 in the class. 2 classes ago,
and he's been coming off the bench, but like kind of in garbage time so far. I'd be interested to see. I think he's going to get more minutes.
Off an injury.
Right?
Yeah,
you expect him to get more minutes as he kind of ramps up and everything. But also another guy who's I think is going to have a huge impact this year. I'm trying to pronounce his name.
The center, the freshman center.
No, the freshman.
Oh no,
shooter.
The shooter, we got across the seas. I forgot.
I didn't hear.
Yeah, he is.
What about this Damian Dunn though? He's a guard. He's going to be a starter, right?
Yeah, he's not going to be great, but he's going to be a pretty good guard in what we do. So.
Yeah.
If you look at
this guy you're talking about?
Yeah, Amzo Delayek. I'm pronouncing his
He's
name.
a guard too.
Yeah, he was hurt for the first 2 games. He came in just kind of at the end last game, but he is a really good shooter.
Yeah.
He's a freshman. He's a European. He's from Europe. So he has kind of that veteran. He kind of plays older than he is, really.
I like that.
And he could really be a spark plug, too, coming off the bench. It's a really deep bench.
The guard play is it looks really...
Yeah.
I mean, but again, it's how we're going to do on the glass, and hopefully that looks better. It should.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
So I'm going to cut you guys off there. Why don't we go to an entirely different sport? The Pirates made 2 hires in a row. Yeah, I know.
East Carolina?
I forgot about that.
East Carolina.
It's been a while. East Carolina.
But they made 2 hires. One was their hitting coach, former Pirates legend and spring training legend, Matt Haig. And
a great minor league ball player. If you look up his minor league stats, really a good minor league player.
And they also got an assistant pitching coach with a lot of pedigree, actually.
Yes.
He was from Houston, helped them turn around their pitching staff, and cheating, whatever, but that's still impressive. And then he goes to the Diamondbacks, does wonders before this year, and the Diamondbacks pitching just got hurt.
It was just Jordan Montgomery. It was just he kind of just really
so I'm not going to put that all on him. Him being our assistant pitching coach, I think, is incredible. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, Brent Storm, I don't know much about, but I was looking online, and they were saying there were some GMs saying this is a really good hire. This guy is I mean, he's one of those guys. He doesn't like to be like. He likes to be more behind the scenes. He could be like what was that guy's name? Ray Searage. Remember Ray Searage had that guy, that assistant. What was his name? And he was really, really good. He ended up going to the Marlins. I forget his name. But
I know you're
this
talking
Yeah, I
Brent
know exactly
Storm
what
could
you're
kind of
talking
be like that. How that guy was, and we know. And I hope he really can help Bednar and Holmgren and some of these to really learn how to pitch. Because they're still young guys that we expected a lot more out of, and it just didn't happen. And I think that's a really strong hire. But let's talk about Matt Haig, because I was like, that name sounds so familiar. Why do I know that? And I remember like when I was real little, like, because I was first getting into baseball, I was looking up like, who's going to be on the Pirates? And, this Matt Haig, he had 15 home runs in AAA. And maybe he'll be good. And yeah, he was like that 1 year in spring, was like, is he going to make the team or whatever? And he was a September call-up. I think that was his one really. He was with the Pirates once, and it was in a September
2012, and then he played like a couple at-bats in 2014.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And, he wasn't really a major leaguer, but he was a very good minor league player. And I wrote an article, and it came out the day that Matt Haig got hired, saying the Pirates should get someone who's actually played, at a high level, and is maybe a little younger, a little more relatable to the Pirates players. And they did that. It wasn't the candidates that I was talking about, but I mean, Matt Haig wasn't even on my radar. Now, Matt Haig was with the Blue Jays, and they stunk. But he was an assistant hitting coach.
Yeah, who knows how much of it,
But I watched a video of him just talking about like metrics and just hitting in general. And when he was, I don't know, I forget what team it was, some travel team or something. I don't know what he was doing, but and I really liked what he had. He kind of reminded me of some of the things my old hitting coach would say, Mike Wilson, who used to coach with Duquesne. I think this is a good hire. Now, how much of a difference it will make, I don't know. But I like the hire. I think it's already an upgrade from Andy Haynes, and he hasn't even probably
anything would
landed
be an
in
upgrade.
Pittsburgh yet. So I like it a lot. I'm not like thrilled, but I think it could pay off. But the Pirates have to go out and we have to actually see some improvements from some players for us to really say that this was an excellent hire.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm kind of, unsure. I'm still very unsure. I think he's a bit of an unknown because while the Blue Jays had a terrible offense last year, somehow worse than the Pirates with the better talent, he was instrumental in developing some of those players like Spencer Horowitz and Davis Schneider, who came up in the minor leagues and who turned into played better than.
Oh, you know what I read? He was the AAA hitting coach for the Bison, and they were really good.
Yeah, that's what and so some of those guys who were coming up, who weren't really heralded at all, and he kind of really transformed them into major league players. And so, I think it is a solid. I think it's a solid hire. I think it's kind
a
of
good start. Okay, Sherrington.
Yeah.
It's a wait and see kind of thing because, and if he's doing that with some of those young players with the Blue Jays, what could he do with, a Henry Davis, right? Or an Andy Rodriguez, or even a Key Brian Hayes to get his something figured out. Because anything
he's under contract for another 5 years.
Yeah. I just randomly wore his jersey.
Yeah, I have a jersey of him.
Yesterday because I was I just picked some out of my wardrobe.
Yeah.
Key Brian Hayes jersey. Because I was talking about yesterday. He needs to hit so much better. Henry Davis, obviously. Those are two big ones. But also O'Neal Cruz, because I think there's still another level that he can unlock with with the raw power he has. And the hitting ability I think he could really have at the major league level. So I think that's a solid hire. We're still kind of unsure overall. But back to Brent Strom, I think that's a really under the radar.
Storm or Strom?
Strom.
I thought it was Brent Storm. Why did I think?
Yeah, I always forget. I don't know why I forget his name too.
Huh?
I think this is a great hire.
Yeah.
Really. And you were mentioning, Steve Phillips, I retweeted. he was talking about how this is just a home run hire because obviously last year with Arizona, they were not a good pitching team, but they had so many injuries, like you mentioned, and Jordan Montgomery just had a really down year. They weren't expecting that. With Houston, he was instrumental in some of those pitchers who came in there, like Charlie Morton, like Garrett Cole, who they acquired and turned into just completely changed their pitching arsenal and how much, they use each pitch, turned them into just really, really good players when they were, like Garrett Cole was a really good pitcher going to Houston, but he really transformed into a top 5 pitcher in Houston. A lot of that was the analytics department, but a lot of that also was Brent Strom. And even with, I know he was gone, but even with Yusei Kikuchi, when he came over, they transformed his pitching arsenal and how much he uses each pitch. And he had a great second half with the Astros. I think Brent Strom was instrumental in laying the foundation for Houston there. So I think this is a great hire. I think it only helps Oscar Marin as well. And I think it helps the young pitchers. And I think the big issue with Bednar and Holderman, I think at times, was how much they used each pitch. And when they're using each pitch, I think Bednar especially.
Yes.
Some of these pitches he used, he went away from his curveball and the splitter a lot.
Holderman completely changed his pitch arsenal.
Yeah. So I think Brent Strom could really help in that department. I'm really excited about that because this pitching
Bednar
staff
needs to he just throws. He doesn't have a plan, in my opinion, enough of a plan. He's just throwing fastballs down the middle. You've talked about that.
Yeah, it's annoying. But yeah, no, I want to touch just real quick on this too. I mean, Haig, like, he has obviously the tall task of turning some of these hitters around, like you mentioned, Hayes and Davis, and just an overall kind of depleted offense other than, Cruz, and then, you get Kutch. But, like, I mean,
Brian Reynolds.
Brian Reynolds, too, of course. But, yeah.
I feel like Brian Reynolds just doesn't get the credit.
He does, yeah. No, that's on me, for sure. But, no, I mean, Haig has that tall task. Obviously, He used to be a Pirate, so there's at least some familiarity there. I don't think that the Blue Jays having a bottom half offense last year was totally on him. I'm excited to see what he can do. I don't know really much about him. It kind of caught me off guard whenever we hired him. But Strom, like you guys mentioned, I think that's a fantastic hire. I've always defended Oscar Marin or Oscar Marin, sorry. And I've always defended. Is it Marin?
Oh, okay. Marin.
All right,
I don't really have an opinion on him.
Yeah.
He got gifted Paul Skeens, Jared Jones. Now he did. I mean,
Mitch Keller.
You can give him credit for turning around Mitch Keller.
Yeah.
No, I like him.
And some other guy like Luis Ortiz as well.
But the bullpen was a complete disappointment, so I don't really have much of an opinion on Oscar Marin.
No, I mean, I like Marin. I think that Strom's just going to only elevate the pitchers. I think they're going to work fantastically together. And I'm excited because, like, they both kind of were in around the same era. Like whenever Ray Searage was with us, like whenever we fired him in 2019, we're like, oh, his approach from 6 years ago isn't going to work anymore. But an approach from 6 years ago in pitching, I mean, it's still similar. I mean, it's still big strikeout numbers. And you have Marin, who really helped with Mike Minor and Lance Lynn with the Rangers, who became big strikeout guys. Then you get Strom, who also had Verlander and Cole, who were big strikeout guys. I mean, I'm hoping to see a lot of Ks on the board, and we'll see what happens. And they already have Skeens and Jones, who are big strikeout pitchers. Hopefully, Keller gets his gets his strikeout numbers up like how he did 2 years ago. But no, I'm really excited to see what these.
It is kind of crazy. Just like I said this before, but Mitch Keller every year, for like the whole season, he has like a 3.40, 3.50 ERA, and he's pitching really well. And then at the end, he ends with a 4.20 ERA.
Yeah.
It's like kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit more from him. I think he's right there for being a really solid, like incredible number 3 starter. And even Jared Jones has a lot of developing as well that Brent Strom could help out with because he kind of tapered off at the end of last year.
Got to keep those guys healthy.
You do.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to. This is a different subject, but I want to mention it before I forget. We've been hearing about this, and finally it's hitting the news because it actually happened. The Sell the Team Bob billboards are up.
They are.
Are in around Pittsburgh, and I got to give these fans credit. They're coming out. They're supporting this movement. They're at least, because we hear people complain about, the lack of wanting to win and the lack of spending online all the time, but they're actually doing something about it and actually organizing something. And I think it's really special. And I think I heard that someone's doing an investigation into, or someone have talked to, I forget what board it is, but it's like how much revenue Bob Nutting is getting from the ballpark and to how much he's actually spending on the team, and they may do an investigation onto that. So they're putting some actual pressure on the owner, and they're getting some bad publicity, which I think, hopefully maybe that will actually, inspire them to do more this offseason. So shout out to the Sell the Team Bob people that stepped up and did
Remember when I think it was Yankees guards in Cleveland, that one guy, he bought like the most expensive ticket, was right out front, and he had to sell the team. You remember that? He had that going.
That's a whole
state.
level.
It's a countrywide.
That's like massive though, because it's national now.
Yeah.
A lot of this was local, and it wasn't getting, because nothing can handle the local stuff. But when he's getting criticized nationally on a much bigger scale, then it actually puts some pressure on him, not only from just fans around, but also from.
I'm sure we will see
Manfred
the Pirates do something, or he's gonna Nutting, because you always see whenever there's bad publicity, Nutting does something.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah,
somebody's getting a contract.
Yeah, Mitch Keller got an extension the day after that whole news about how badly, like something popped up, and it was
but maybe actually this time it's gonna be, let's do our jobs in free agency and get players that actually can play.
I would love Jock Peterson, by the way.
Paul Goldschmidt.
He'd
Paul
be
Goldschmidt.
I saw some of that Christian Walker.
That would be
a great,
crazy. That would be
great.
Amazing.
They're gonna have to spend a lot.
Yeah, he will.
I think they could get Goldschmidt relatively cheaper.
I hope for a bounce back, but he's getting up there.
2 years. Just give him a 2-year deal. He's got 2 more years left.
All right. Well, I think that's actually a great way to end. Yeah. But we're gonna go right
into free agency some other time.
We will. But
winter meetings.
Winter meetings.
That'll be coming up soon.
That will be coming up soon. But we have the Steelers coming off a pretty big win against a pretty good Washington team. They are now 7-2. Who would have thought, by the way? And they do face a pretty gauntlet schedule. I know Browns are the Browns, but like it's a divisional
AFC
game.
North, it doesn't
It's a divisional game. It's going to be tough. So how about your guys' thoughts? I mean, it's literally division games and then Eagles and Chiefs. Like you can't make this up. So it's going to be tough. But what do you guys have to say about that?
Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, this is I want to talk about the Commanders game real quick first, because the Steelers kind of dominated that game for a large portion of it, but there was some, obviously, the fake punt, which I'm coming around to a little bit. Immediately in the moment, I was like, "This is." You're at your own 15. You have all the momentum, but it was if you just catch the pass, then nobody's talking about. Oh,
it's a genius play.
It was executed perfectly. You just got to catch the ball.
Yeah, and you don't like James Pierre. He really doesn't like James Pierre. But other than that, like they really, if you look at the yards, Washington like 240 yards of offense.
Yeah,
now, that looks a little bit less impressive now because the Eagles shut them down last night. On Thursday Night Football for the most part, but they did a really good job outside that Terry McLaurin catch where it was like bad angles to the trying to tackle him. They defensively were pretty good. Cam Hayward had a great game. Patrick Queen he's been really solid so far this year, but making those big plays, those splash plays in the run game, he played really well. And Preston Smith made a big impact, had a couple tackles for loss. It was just a really solid, and George Pickens had a good game. Everybody, Mike Williams, again involved early.
That was awesome. Yeah. What a way to begin your Steelers
Mike
career.
Williams, total points.
He's a legend. He's already a Steelers legend.
Is. Mike Williams, total points, 6 last week. Jets, total points, 6 last week.
Off one throw.
One throw. Yeah. He wasn't even on the field for most of the game.
He played 9 snaps.
He played 9 snaps.
I didn't know that.
He played 9 snaps.
I knew he just was not. I just didn't see him at all.
Yeah, I was like, where is this man? And
that's amazing.
I swear, like a couple plays before, I said, where is Mike Williams? And then here he was.
Yeah, so overall, that was a huge win because going into the year, I thought the final 8 games, like starting now, would be the big stretch. But really, it was the final 9 because of how good Washington has played so far this year. And they won that game, and they now it could have went either way at the end, that 4th down. But I thought overall that was a really solid win. And this game, this is the biggest. I know in the past, like the Steelers playing the Ravens was to make the playoffs. If they win, they're in.
Yeah.
But this is the biggest Steelers-Ravens game in several years because those teams,
in terms of how good the teams are and their record. Yeah.
And like those games, like you knew the Steelers weren't going to do anything in the playoffs. Like this year, what we're seeing from Russ, there's a chance they could win a game or two.
That would be crazy.
If they win the division, they have to win the division because if they play at the Texans, I think they can win that game. But it's going to be tough going at Baltimore or at Buffalo or at Kansas City. So winning the division, having a good record, this is a monumental game. And I think these teams are Baltimore's really good offensively. Like we know, they're just incredible. I think they're the best offense with Detroit in the league. Defensively, the passing game, they are historically bad, actually. But I think this is the most even these teams have been as well in several years, just because I think the Steelers have been very mediocre in the recent years, and the Ravens have been kind of at the top in the AFC for the most part. So I think this is a massive game, and I think if the Steelers win this, they're in the driver's seat to win the AFC North.
It's a huge game. Well, I'll talk about the Commanders. I want to talk more because you kind of went over the positive. I'm going to talk about maybe a little more of the negative. Washington is still a very young team.
Right.
And they were ahead in a lot of that game. It felt like we controlled it, but they were still ahead.
They were, yeah.
And they just had, and that's, we talk about the highest paid defense, the elite defense. And I'll give our talent on the edge and Tomlin some credit, and our D coordinator. We do a great job of controlling these really high-end running quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels, like Lamar Jackson. They just don't. We don't let them run. We don't let them run around, and we keep them in the pocket. And not that they're both can play well from the pocket, but especially Jaden isn't quite as developed as Lamar is as a pocket passer. Although Jaden is better as a rookie than Lamar was as a passer as a rookie. But they really made him uncomfortable, and that was certainly impressive. He tried the read option, and there was Patrick Queen. Right, the speed at the linebacker position is good. Although, we saw at times like they just started to run it down our throats with Eckler, and there have been times. They had like a couple of long drives where they just were running it and running it and running it. And the run defense still concerns me. It's shown its flashes, but overall it has not been consistently good. And Derrick Henry. And that's why this game concerns me, because this upcoming game concerns me, is because Derrick Henry is a whole nother level this year. Mm-hmm. Him and Barkley and their respective O-lines. I think if I'm the Ravens, because we know Tomlin and that defense kind of has Lamar's number, I would be handing it off to Derrick as much as possible. Then we get all worried about Derrick, and then Lamar kind of can do his thing.
Right.
And that's that concerns me. But other than that, the defense was good, except at the end of the game, right, they're playing man-to-man coverage, and we have James Pierre. I can't stand this guy. Like, he's been around for 3-4 years in the organization. He's terrible. Pick up someone else on waivers. We're getting Corey Trice back this week, which I think is big, and we have Cam Sutton getting more involved. Right. So hopefully we won't see James Pierre as much. But there was James Pierre on an island with Noah Brown. Our secondary is still a bit of a concern, but I think Corey Trice could help a little bit. James Pierre is on an island with Noah Brown at the end of the game. Man, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to hit him. And he underthrew it. And James Pierre, because Noah Brown had him beat, and James Pierre came back and swatted it. And then I really thought Jaden Daniels. I mean, they had some guys wide open. Like, our secondary did not play all that well last game. Mm-hmm. And like Minka missed an angle on a tackle. Joey Porter didn't have a good game. And the secondary is a bit concerning. Jaden Daniels really did miss some wide open throws, including that Noah Brown throw, which would have probably sealed the game for them. Yeah. And he had some wide open guys over the middle, McLaurin and Luke McCaffrey, and he just completely missed them. But that goes to show we make these young quarterbacks and these running quarterbacks uncomfortable in the pocket. Now, shifting to the offense, right? Our offense is run the ball and moon ball, and the moon ball is great. I love the moon ball because we have guys who can go up for that. Mike Williams, Pickens, and I think it's great. And Freiermuth when they involve him, but they got to start hitting some guys over the middle, and they got to start hitting some screens and short passes with Russ, because we can't just keep chucking it down the field. There was a period in that game we're just chucking it down the field, and it's not working. And then eventually it did. But we got to hit some more intermediate throws, set up some quick passes to Pickens, get the ball in Pickens' hands, get the ball in Freiermuth's hands. I mean, we gave Freiermuth this contract. He's barely involved, and hit it over the middle. And the problem with Russ, he just doesn't hit people over the middle. But I thought Arthur Smith would kind of get that going. We haven't really seen that yet. But Russ, I mean, he provides some stability that we haven't had in a long time, and that's certainly something to be happy about. But yeah, I don't know, your thoughts?
No, I think that that the Washington game we could have won by 2 scores. Like I think that easily could have been the possibility. I think other than like you said, the secondary.
But Washington, like I said, Washington missed some big time
They
throws.
did, yeah. I mean,
so it's hard to say that,
right.
in my opinion.
I mean, the secondary, definitely didn't look great. I still think that Steelers played like the better team. We'll see what happens. But yeah, the Ravens game, that's going to be tough. I mean, with every single the Steelers do amazing against Lamar Jackson, but we've never seen Lamar Jackson with
Derrick Henry. Nope.
I mean, that's a whole that's not like Lamar Jackson with Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins. That at least you can scheme around pretty easily. But Derrick Henry, that's a big bruiser that Steelers haven't played Derrick Henry in a long time, 3-4 years, right? So did they play him last year? Was he healthy?
Yeah, with
Derrick
Tennessee.
Henry? Okay,
but that offense stunk.
Yeah, they
never had a quarterback.
Yeah, you basically only had to game plan for Henry at that point because Levis, he wasn't going to beat you at the time. So now you've got literally Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. You have to worry about both. And the receivers are still pretty good. Zay Flowers is a good receiver. I know he gets, a little scrutinized.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Watch him. He's been, they just haven't involved him, and he's been complaining about it on social media.
Yeah.
And of course, Tomlin's like, well, I'm not, he basically said, I'm not that worried about him.
Yeah.
I'm worried. Now I am worried about him, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And then Bateman, I know, he has, drops, a few drops, but he's still not bad. It's not like they have a bunch of bums.
He's had some really good performances this year, actually. But no, go ahead.
No, that's pretty much all I want to say. It's not like we're facing a receiving core of bums. They have 2 good tight ends too. That could be an issue.
I know likely, I think he's having health concerns right now. But
but either way, even with just Mark Andrews, I know we have some good coverage linebackers now, especially with Patrick Queen starting to come along. Hopefully, this is a revenge game for him. Hopefully, he steps up. But I think it's going to be interesting.
Did you see that? He said that the Ravens never offered him a contract.
I'm shocked. I know that
crazy.
I know that they prioritized Roquan Smith because he was kind of like that leader, but having that 1-2 punch as coverage linebackers, they're both all pro. Patrick Queen would have been a first team All Pro if it wasn't for Roquan Smith being right next to them. So
and so about this game, the Steelers offense, they got to be hitting a lot of throws. Russ should not have 50% completion like he did last game against this poor of a
He has to go off.
A poor of a secondary in the Ravens. And Washington's secondary isn't good either, and he only hit 50% of his throws.
Yeah.
So if we don't see some more intermediate short throws, it's gonna give we know Russ isn't gonna be perfect, but we can't just be all moon balls. It just can't be all that. And the moon balls he did hit, they were in single high safety.
They're gonna start putting
they're gonna Harbaugh's gonna have two safeties there. And so we got to see, and I just about this game, I feel like the Steelers have gotten some bullshit wins over them. They've won 7 of the last 8, and that's shouldn't
crazy.
be the case.
There's
been a lot of fluke.
Well, it's been a lot of. Remember early on, Robert Griffin. Remember he was the Ravens, and then
you got Tyler Huntley.
And even
Trace McSorley.
Yeah, he was.
I came in.
Penn State legend. He's gonna be good in the NFL. No, but to your point, I was talking about this on my radio show. Teams, and were you that told me about Dan Orlovsky when he said that teams are gonna start putting 2 high safeties up and forcing Russ to throw the kind of the intermediate passes.
And he has to be better from the pocket and hit those throws.
And he has to be able to do that.
Hit over the middle more.
Now the thing is, they're 50-50 balls for a reason, right? Sometimes they're going to work, sometimes they're going to not. But the good thing is, with George Pickens, they're really 75-25 just because of how awesome he is at adjusting to the ball. It's actually insane.
Yeah.
That touchdown he had, and just the ability consistently, game in, game out, to make these acrobatic catches on the sideline for throws that maybe aren't completely accurate. He's able to just make these plays. It's kind of, and with Mike Williams now, bigger receiver who's able to kind of be on the receiving end like we saw of those moon balls. But yeah, more consistent, more diverse passing offense for sure. Get everybody involved. That's what's going to need to happen against the Ravens. And then if you can get any run game against the Ravens, who I didn't even know this, they have a really good run defense. If you can get any run game, that would be really supplement the offense. And defensively,
this is going to be about who can control the clock and who cannot turn the ball over.
Right.
That's always what it is, but it might be a little more high scoring this time around.
I think Derrick Henry's going to have a big game because remember, even like you mentioned, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, these are still really good. They're both with the Chargers now
Yeah.
too. They
Yeah.
like both migrated over
Yeah.
to the other Harbaugh. But J.K. Dobbins, every time he played against the Steelers, he had like 8 yards of
Right,
carry.
yeah.
He was like insane against the Steelers. That's kind of like what they would like allow that,
Yeah.
but stop Lamar Jackson. I think Derrick Henry's going to go off. Personally, I hope he doesn't, obviously, but I think they're going to do a better job. I think they're going to do a pretty good job of containing Lamar Jackson running. But the question is, don't allow him to throw those deep balls. Make him settle for intermediate throws, because what the Ravens offense has been able to do is throw the ball deep, and they've connected with Zay Flowers and with Rashad Bateman, and fingers crossed, not Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if you could force them to have longer drives, because they have quick drives, they score really fast. If you can make them longer drives and somehow
you expect
control
that
the
from
run
the Steelers
game.
defense. I mean, we made the Commanders had to earn it.
They did.
Those long drives they weren't good, but they had to earn it.
But it's crazy. You're talking about Austin Eckler. I thought this too. I thought they just had a crazy running performance, because I thought Austin Eckler, he's getting 5-6 yards a carry. They ended with 60 rushing yards.
Yeah,
Did you know that?
Eckler didn't
I mean,
average many yards per carry. Oh, which is weird.
They started to step up a little bit, but there were times where it was like we were getting gashed. Like
It felt like
a
that, but
couple
like at the end though. But like when
yeah.
it mattered, I mean, they really shored up, which give them credit, because I've been really critical of this run defense too. I've been saying
Yeah.
highest paid defense in the league, and they're giving up. It's crazy, but Cam Hayward in the interior, Larry Ogunjobi's been playing well. So I think this is going to
But
be a
the
really fun
secondary
game.
and the run defense have to compensate each other.
And Joey Porter Jr. needs to play better.
Yeah,
he's not playing
He's
good.
grabbing. You got to just play. You got to. Can't
Well,
he's too aggressive sometimes.
Not even even in coverage, nobody's really thrown him too much, but they were targeting him Washington consistently.
Yeah.
He's one of the worst graded cornerbacks by Pro Football Focus, and you kind of see
Really?
that. Yeah, he's
It's
been
because
not.
of because he'll make really good plays, but then he forces a lot of penalties. So
I
that's
Right.
just
I just don't. I think he needs to
It's
play
not
better
good.
for sure too. And
Yeah.
Dante Jackson was a little off last week too. So,
Yeah.
but he's been really good. He's been really good stabilizer, and Deshaun Elliott's been awesome. So
I think we won that trade with Carolina. I would say.
Yeah,
We'd have to. Yeah, we'd have to now.
because their guy's gone already.
Yeah.
and they got nothing back for him.
It's kind of like the Andrew McCutcheon situation where the Giants traded him to the Yankees at the deadline, like
Right.
the same year that we
I just
traded
wanted
for
to
him.
end with this. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of fluke BS for the Steelers.
Yeah.
They've won 4 in a row.
Yep.
They got Derrick Henry. It just feels, it just feels like the Ravens are due to win this game, and they are the better team. In a lot, they got the better quarterback. It just feels like they're due to win this game, but we'll see what happens.
Well, speaking of seeing who's going to win
Yeah,
each
we'll
game,
make our picks
let's
on
go to the
that.
NFL picks.
Yes. All right, so I'm already 0-1 because
We all took the Eagles except Nate.
Yeah, I wanted to be different. Maybe I was going with my heart too much. I didn't want to see the Eagles
I
win.
wanted to take the Commanders because I hate the Eagles and I love it, but I couldn't do it.
But
I
like,
knew that this
I'm
was
still
going to
like,
happen.
you still have that feeling with the Eagles, kind of similar to the Chiefs. They're not. There's something's off still because
Yeah, 'cause-
they had 3 points midway
Yeah, but
through the third quarter.
Their
Yeah.
kicker missed.
I know, but they're
7
kicking field
points.
goals.
Yeah.
They're not getting in the end zone
But
either.
the Commanders' defense though has slowly improved,
Yeah, but
and their defense and the Eagles' defense has complemented the their offense at times. I mean, they're just such a talented team; they can
Yeah.
overcome a lot.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Barkley is. I mean, Joe Shane has lost his. He's done. He's going to be out of there for letting Barkley go for the Giants.
Yeah.
But the standings, I had a bad week as usual last week. I went 6-8. Cashman and Bell went 8-6, and Nathan Shivens went 9-5. Gained a game on Cashman. You just been breathing down his neck. You're a game behind Cashman in the standings.
I don't know if he's totally locked in right now. He's going all in on one soda right now.
Yeah,
He's very focused on that.
But he's still in the lead. 95.
Yep.
He's 95-54. You're 94-55.
That's really good.
That
though.
is really good.
That's
Where
great.
am I at now?
You're
Probably not even.
88-62. So
That
you're
terrible performance by
that's-
Jake Bell so
you're
far.
70. No, you're way better. You're still 7 games ahead of me. So I've been pretty.
Are you over
awful.
500?
I'm 81-69. Hang the banner.
Wow.
All right.
All right, let's get into these games.
All right. Yeah, some of these we're gonna be able to breeze through because it's like weird this week. There's several really awesome games, but then
Right.
there's some games with crazy point spreads. Jaguars Lions. Anybody?
I'm honestly, you never know with the NFL because there could just be trap games. But I'm gonna go with the Lions. I don't want to take.
This
the
is
Jaguars.
the largest spread of the year. It's minus 14 right now for Detroit.
Oh, you know what? I
that's
saw something
crazy.
the other day. I saw this randomly. The Steelers. It was just the Steelers hype post, but it was like the Steelers. So they've been around since 1933, right?
Oh, this is about
In
the Jaguars.
franchise history, they've only been a 13-point or more underdog once in franchise
The
history.
Steelers.
Only once. And the Jaguars, I forget what the number was. Like since 2010,
They've
it's been
had,
like
like-
multiple, like 10 times.
Yeah.
They've been 13 or more point.
Do you know what
underdog.
game that was for the Steelers?
I have no idea. I just saw.
That'd be a crazy trivia.
That's
Yeah,
a
it would
great
be, yeah.
trivia question.
It would have to be one of the
It would
really
have
bad
to be-
Browns teams, right? Like whenever they were like 1-15, 0-16.
No.
No, Steelers are underdogs.
When the
so-
Steelers were
big
underdogs,
oh.
only once in
Oh,
franchise
okay.
history.
That's actually crazy. I think like once.
Yeah.
Once. I would think it would have had to been. I don't know when they really started doing lines and stuff.
Yeah.
I was gonna
but
say because before the Super Bowl era, like they had some bad teams.
they were
like,
really
but,
bad.
Like they wouldn't have done
So it would have
that
been
at the time.
maybe in the
Ste- the
80s. It would have been
Steagles.
in the 80s or early 90s.
Yeah.
The Steagles. That would have been like 1941 was the time when they were.
That's
I don't even think
crazy.
did they even have. When did they start with the betting spreads? I wonder when they even start with that.
That's a good trivia.
I don't
question,
thi-
too. I'm not exactly sure.
I don't think they had them in the 40s.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna.
So are we all taking Lions? For
Yeah,
that
I-
one then. Okay.
Yes.
I was on the Jaguars for a while, but I've been done for a couple of weeks. And they got Mac Jones. They actually should have won that game against the Vikings, but Mac Jones is so terrible. He's just oh
and
my
he's
god.
starting again this week.
Yeah, and he's starting again. They're not
Yeah.
gonna. They might not
Mac Jones
score.
just needs the perfect team to succeed and be like how it was
They
with
got,
Alabama.
but they have players.
They do, yeah.
I know
for
Christian
sure.
Kirk's out right now, but Brian Thomas has been.
Yeah.
He's a really good receiver, and they got some tight ends. But yeah, Cashman. Do we have Cashman's picks? Did he?
No, I do not.
Ah man.
I mean, I assume he'd take the Lions. Cashman, you're not on it.
Cashman. He got one. He's 1-0 though already, so that's good for him. But next one, Rams at the Patriots. Rams coming off a terrible loss, and the Patriots coming off a really good win.
Very disappointed in my Rams.
My
Very
Rams.
disappointed.
My Rams.
I have to go Rams. I want to go Patriots because I like Drake May, but like I just can't, I can't. I have to go Rams.
This is the perfect. This is just for the Rams, like coming off a bad
Yeah.
game. Patriots coming off a really good win.
Yeah.
This is kind of the perfect recipe for a Rams win. I think the Rams, they got to win this game if they want to make the playoffs. I think because if you go 4-6, the Niners are only going to get better, and the Cardinals have an easy schedule going forward. So I'm going to take the Rams too.
Rams.
All right.
Okay, so Cashman does have his picks in now.
Yes, he
so
does.
let's continue. So let's see. So he has, I assume he has the Lions and the Rams, right? And he did have the Eagles last night.
So he has, Rams, and he has the Eagles from last night. So,
Okay, what were we saying?
and then we also had he also has he has the Lions too
Okay.
against the Jaguars. So
And what's the next game? Browns and who?
Browns at the Saints. Browns at the Saints.
Ugh. I think the Saints are like a point favorite, right?
Yeah, they are.
No, they're a point underdog now.
Oh, I got them as on ESPN bet. They're -1 New Orleans.
you know what? It was
Doesn't
the
matter.
classic game where the Saints won with their new head coach. I think Browns. I hate
What do you think,
I
Nate?
hate going for the Browns.
Yeah, I got the Browns. I think the Browns have the much better roster. I know I know they've just been terrible this year, but they still have a really excellent roster. The Saints coming off the highest of highs, getting that win. They're just not. They have
Yeah.
a lot of guys are hurt right now, and they're just not nearly as talented as they've been. So I'm gonna go with the Browns as well.
Cashman has the Saints.
I'm going to agree with you guys. I'm going with the Browns. Jameis Winston against the team that really never gave him a
Yeah.
true
Oh.
chance.
That was crazy.
Yeah, they literally started Andy Dalton over
They
him.
started
I was like,
these-
what are we doing?
Yeah. They would have started Taysom Hill too.
Yeah,
they probably did.
I think-
They did.
I feel like they did.
Oh yeah, they did in 2020.
I think the
100%.
Browns, they're off a bye. They're off a bye.
Off a
Kevin
bye.
Stefanski off a bye. I think they're going to get the job done. I think, everyone's a little high on New Orleans now after that Atlanta win. Atlanta's just one of those teams like you never know what you're going to get.
And
from
they just
they're
lost
gonna be
to
a playoff
Carolina.
team, but
so-
yeah, it's just like I like Stefanski. It's just
He's a good
can't,
coach.
Can't get Deshaun Watson, and
Yeah.
that was just a disaster. Browns, and Cashman.
All right.
Cashman's tough to go against Cashman.
It is. All right, next one. This is a funny matchup. We were just talking about the Colts off air, but Colts at the Jets. Jets 4-point favorites. They've played much better at home than on the road. Where are we going here? Colts, Anthony Richardson back at quarterback.
I feel like Joe Flack. Now all of a sudden Anthony Richardson is ready to go. I know Flacco's been bad, but I don't really love the move. Oh, wait a second. I'm on the wrong.
No, I hate because you're always told don't bet on the Jets. You see the memes, but I'm gonna bet on the Jets. I think the Jets are gonna win.
Oh no, this is because you've been picking against the Jets and you've been getting it right.
I've been getting it right.
You got it right last week. I've been picking the Jets and I've been right with the Texans, but wrong with the Cards. They just got on the road. They're just awful.
Yeah.
But at home, somehow it's kind of weird. Actually, you'd figure they would be like actually worse at home because the fans just booing and everything, just how poor they are. But I am gonna go with the Jets. I think it will be a really close game actually because I think Anthony Richardson. From what they're saying, he's been in training camp or in practice. He's been a lot better. Take that with as much as you will. I'm not sure, frankly, how he's gonna perform. But has to be better.
I think Cash has the Jets as well.
Yeah. What do you got, Paige?
So you have okay.
Oh, everybody's Jets right now.
Cashman has Jets. You guys have Jets.
This is very concerning.
Yeah, that's crazy. Jets sweeping the table as 2-7 or whatever.
Oh wait, but who do you have? Payne, did you make a pick?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I hate this game. I honestly, I feel like you're committing suicide either way here. Like, I like the Colts. I like the coach more. I like, their run. I'm gonna take the Colts.
All right. There you go. I could see it. I could certainly see it happening.
And in the NFL, it could go either way, especially this matchup. So.
Especially, last week they outplayed the Bills. Really,
Yeah.
it was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Even though Flacco was just terrible, they just gifted the Bills all those points, but they had a chance to win. But shifting to another weird game, Vikings at the Titans. Will Levis actually last week wasn't terrible. He was somewhat decent, and but the Titans still lost to the Chargers. But playing the Vikings at home, Minnesota 6-point favorites.
Give me the Vikings.
Vikings.
And Cash has the Vikings too.
Vikings.
Yeah, I was thinking about the Titans actually, but I'm gonna take because Sam Darnold has not looked good recently.
He
at all.
hasn't.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, he hasn't.
He's gonna turn the ball over.
But with Will Levis, I think
I'm never taking Will
if
Levis.
Mason Rudolph plays this game, I would have picked the Titans. I think, but Minnesota, I'm gonna go with
Brian
Minnesota.
Flores is gonna have them shut down.
Yeah.
Vikings. We all have the Vikings.
All right. The Raiders off a bye, I believe. Didn't they have a bye? Did they just have a bye?
They just had a bye.
Off
they did
a bye.
really good against the bye.
They beat the bye week.
They did
Hang the
so
banner. And this week they're playing at the Dolphins, who got a win that could potentially have saved their season. What do we got here?
Give me the Dolphins. Me and Cash agree again. He's going with Dolphins as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Dolphins too. Some of these are just like mismatch games.
Right.
Like it's just a bad team against a pretty good one. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins. I think they found something with that win. And if they win this one, that last wild card spot.
Make the playoffs because I had a bet that they weren't making the playoffs. They better not sneak in.
Come on, Dolphins, let's go. Let's go. Tua.
The Rams just kept shooting themselves in the foot. There's no reason they should have lost that game. But go ahead. Good. I got to give Tua credit. Their offense was pretty decent. And yeah, the Raiders suck. So Miami.
Yeah. All right. We're all in agreement on that one. Packers Bears. Yeah, so this one's interesting. The Bears fired Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator. Is it now? I'm getting confused now because is it David Moore is the Bears wide receiver?
I thought it was Tom somebody.
DJ Moore.
Or is it DJ Moore? So David Moore is on on the Panthers right now. I think there's a guy.
DJ Moore's the wide receiver.
For the Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, what are we talking
I
about?
was getting confused on because I think there's a David Moore that's on the Panthers now, even though the Bears traded DJ Moore, and they had to. I don't know. I'm just cooked. But Packer. Well, But what I was saying was, DJ Moore said that Shane Waldron was too soft on them. Which is kind of crazy. Then that's why they weren't. He wasn't hard enough on them, which is an interesting thing to say about. I mean. Probably didn't say it after during the game or during the losing streak or anything, but after he gets fired. But Packers come into town. Who are we leaning in this game?
It's at Chicago. Packers are 5-point favorites.
Yeah.
I'm going to be taking the Bears on the spread. The Bears got embarrassed last week. I think the Bears are going to make this a game.
Yeah.
I do. I think they're going to be – Caleb's going to – because Caleb, it's just been a weird year for him because he started out really bad. Then he had a really good stretch of games, and now he's been really bad. He needs a good offensive coach. He needs someone that he really can work with, and they just don't have that right now. The Packers just own the Bears. They're coming off a bye. I like the Packers by 3 points.
I'm taking the Packers too. I'm taking the Packers.
I think the Bears cover too, actually.
I was considering the Bears, but I can't. I can't. And then Cash has, who's he have? He has the Packers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears might just. This might be one of those things where they get rid of their offensive coordinator and then they somehow have
We saw what happened with the Steelers when they got rid of their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but I am going to take the Packers as well. This is an interesting game as well. Falcons at the Broncos. Broncos have had a couple losses here. Last week they should have beat the Chiefs. Just had to make the field goal, but of course it gets blocked because it's the Chiefs. Falcons coming off a really bad loss to the Saints. Where are we leaning in this game?
Man, this is tough. This is a tough one to pick. Go ahead, Jake. I have no idea. I'm not.
Broncos. It's weird taking. I don't really want to take them, but I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with you on a lot of these.
Really?
I mean, I mean, some of these games, these teams are heavily favored, but I am going to take the Broncos too. Falcons, they looked really bad, and you think, they bounced back this week or something. But the Broncos had a bad loss too, and I think they're looking to bounce back.
Yeah.
Mile High Stadium, is it still called? Is that still called Mile High Stadium?
No idea.
That's what that's known as. So
it's one of the tougher places to play in the league. I think the Broncos team overall, I think these are actually pretty even teams, which is kind of crazy to think. I think the Falcons are better.
Yeah.
But I think it's closer than people think. I'm going to take the Broncos to win this game.
And Cash has the Falcons, actually. So.
Cashman has the Falcons.
Yeah, he's going against the grain with us.
I don't know who to pick here. I think part of Denver's soul might have been taken out of them because that was their Super Bowl last week. I mean, it really was. I mean, they played really,
they can
really
make the
well.
playoffs, though. They can make the playoffs.
But Atlanta's still fighting for their division, in a way.
They got the division.
They kind of got it wrapped up.
They got like a 3-game lead, basically, because they have the tiebreaker.
So the Broncos need this game more. I think, God.
It's a tough one.
It is. I'm gonna. I don't know. I think I got to go with Atlanta. I got to go with the Falcons here.
All right. Good pick. Fair. I mean, you can,
literally, this game could go either way. Literally, us for 50-50.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Speaking of off a bye, Seahawks at the 49ers. The Seahawks, I saw people making the case for the Seahawks. They're rested. They're off a bye. But I think the 49ers gonna start kicking into high gear.
I agree. I have 49ers. That's where I'm going.
And they've kind of owned the Seahawks.
Right.
And
Cash has Niners too.
Yeah. Geno Smith's kind of regressed a little bit this year. Their defense has, it's not that very talented, but their coach is kind of elevating that a little bit. But they've had a string of losses. I thought going into the year the Seahawks would be like a 7-win team. And I think they probably will end up.
San Francisco owns Seattle.
Yeah.
I might take them to cover here because San Francisco is but San Francisco played really well last week. Their kicker just missed a bunch of field goals. I'm going to take the 49ers.
All right. Next one of the bigger games, probably the season, Bills-Chiefs. Chiefs-Bills, I guess. Buffalo, slight favorites at home.
Wow.
Will the Chiefs remain undefeated?
You know what? I go against the Chiefs a lot. I've probably half the games I've gone against the Chiefs if I had to guess. And I've always been wrong, obviously, because they're undefeated.
We all have the 49ers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I am going to take my chance and say that even if I'm wrong, I do not care. I'm taking the Bills.
I was hoping you'd take the Chiefs because I've been picking the Chiefs actually because they keep winning, but I feel like worse about them each week because they keep playing these like very mediocre teams.
Right.
They should be. You can make it a case they should have 3 or 4 losses. I mean, their point differential is that of a instead of 9-0, like a 6-3 or a 5-4 even. I'm going to take the Bills because in the regular season, the Bills do better against the Chiefs. But when it matters most, the Chiefs always get it done. I think the Bills, think it starts here, with this win. And then hopefully for them in the playoffs, getting the win against them. But I'm going to take the Bills. Really close, fun game. Bills.
Both of these, there's a lot of games this week. I just don't know what to do with them. I don't know what to do with it. This game, both of these teams, good records, great quarterbacks. The Chiefs' defense is obviously good. Good teams, but they both just haven't quite looked right. They're being too Josh Allen reliant in Buffalo. The offense they've had a lot of injuries in Kansas City. They just haven't quite. Mahomes just hasn't quite clicked. It's at Buffalo. Who's Cashman got?
Cashman has the Bills.
Yeah, I'm not sweeping the Bills.
I was going to say, imagine
Chiefs.
sweeping the table against an undefeated team. That's crazy.
I can't do that. I trust Andy Reid way more than I trust Sean McDermott, and I trust they're being a little too Allen reliant.
And they're there's a lot of guys who are questionable. Dalton Kincaid, obviously, Amari Cooper, and somebody else too.
Keon Coleman.
The Colts should have been in that game if they didn't turn it over 5 times.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to take the Chiefs here.
Solid
I think we
pick.
have 2 more matchups, right?
We have 2 more, but then we got Ravens Steelers. I was saving that one.
I forgot about that one.
We'll save that one till the end. Another really intriguing game, Bengals Chargers. This is really a must-win game for Cincinnati because with 7 losses and then you still got to play the Steelers twice. You figure you lose one of those games, you're looking at best case scenario 9-8 kind of thing if you lose this game. So
give me the Bengals.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with Jake Bell way too much right now. I also have the Bengals. I just think I've been picking the Chargers a lot. I just think the Chargers are in the playoffs. I just think this is such a big game for the Bengals. Their offense has been great. The Chargers' defense has been incredible. It's been, crazy good. What a transformation under Jim Harbaugh. They're giving up 13 points a game. Now they haven't played really
a lot of their wins are garbage.
Yeah. But
so it's the NFL. It's not like Pitt beating.
We know we know with Harbaugh the Chargers have a solid team.
Their defense is really good nonetheless.
And I think their offense. I think they're becoming a little more explosive slowly every week.
But they're not. They're still. It's weird. They're not. They're maybe more explosive, but they're not scoring as much. I think the Bengals win like 20, 27, 24, something like that. I think the Bengals are able to get the win.
Cash also has the Bengals, by the way.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, you know who I'm taking.
The Chargers.
Of course.
I like the Chargers.
And the the Bengals should not be 4-7, but they shouldn't be 4-6 at this point either. They've lost so many close games. The Chargers are just, they're more well coached. They've done better in close. They know how to win these close games with Harbaugh. I feel like if Burrow if they get into a shootout, I like the Bengals. But I think the Chargers defense is going to keep this close. And whose defense do I trust more?
Oh,
the Chargers.
Easily. Yeah. I hope the Chargers win.
Absolutely,
for
yeah.
sure, but
the thing is, this is a must-win for Cincinnati. It really is.
Yeah. I'm going to take a look at their schedule real quick. Yeah, they obviously got the Steelers twice. But then these other games, Like they got at the Cowboys, at the Titans, at home against the Browns, at home against the Broncos. I think we talked about this last week. Those are all very winnable games. Like you know, if you're a playoff team, you win 4 out of 5 of those for sure. And then so if you win this game, it really opens up some things for the Bengals. But Monday night game, Texans and the Cowboys.
Both these teams have been disappointing in different ways.
Houston.
Cowboys I think are going to try to tank. I'm going Texans. I just don't think I don't think the Cowboys. I mean, I hate saying like, because you want to play for the win, but if you're the Cowboys, like your season's over. I'm sorry. Like try to get a really good draft. Yeah, try to get a really good draft to build around what is really not the greatest cap situation. So
right, yeah, I'm going with the Texans. They have to bounce back after such a demoralizing loss.
Yeah,
I mean they controlled that game against the Lions. They were getting all those turnovers, and then they just. I don't even know. I mean, they let the Lions back in that game.
The problem, I mean, C.J. Stroud missed some easy throws.
Yeah, he didn't have...
There was a guy wide open for a touch. They just floated it, and the guy came across for an interception. That just kind of showed how good of a team the Lions are. They could play horrifically and still beat a really good team on the road.
Yeah.
But the Texans, their offense is not as consistent as it should be. And I think they do really miss Diggs and Collins right now. He doesn't really have those reliable targets other than Tank Dell. And the run game, the offensive line hasn't been quite good for the Texans. That's been kind of a concern.
Right.
But yeah, this game, I mean, Dallas is such a mess. I have to take the Texans.
Did we say Cashman got the Texans too, I assume?
Yes, he does. Yep.
All right, final one. It's the one we were previewing for a lot in this show's Ravens Steelers. Where are we leaning?
I'm going Steelers. I went against them last week. Now I'm probably going to jinx them because that's just how I am. I'm going Steelers. They're just going to magically find a way to beat the Ravens. I don't know why. I don't know how it's going to happen. Lamar Jackson, I know that he has Derrick Henry, but
I keep right.
I don't know. Steelers. I'm just going to say Steelers. I'm not going to give too much of an explanation. But.
Yeah.
Nate? Go ahead.
I've been picking the Steelers, and they've been winning. It's such a big game. Ravens defense so bad, but they have Derrick Henry. I'm going to take the Ravens to win this game. I just think they're the better overall teams, and I think the margins have gotten slimmer just because the Ravens defense has been so terrible. But I'm going to take them. I think if it's a shootout, the Ravens, if Lamar Jackson has the ball with, a minute left and they're down like 3, like the Ravens are going to at least tie the game and probably win it. So I think a lot of it depends on who has the ball at the end. But I think the Ravens will end up winning. But obviously I really hope the Steelers win for sure.
And Cash has the Ravens also.
He always picks against the Steelers, let's be honest.
Yeah. He's
a hater. Let's look at this line here. Ravens are 3.5-point favorites. I just feel like the Steelers are due to lose to the Ravens, and with Derrick Henry, I think they're gonna cause some problems. I think the Steelers' passing game is going to disappoint, and that's why I'm picking the Ravens. I think Derrick Henry, and I like Russ, but I don't trust him right now to really get into a rhythm other than these moon balls he's been hitting. But the Ravens' pass defense has been terrible, but I am also going to go with the Ravens as well.
So what you guys are saying is that if I'm right, I get a huge leap in the standings.
A huge leap.
Yeah.
5 extra points.
Yeah. All right, well, that includes our picks, and that also includes our episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know, different studio, but hopefully, maybe it's the new one we use. We'll
might
potentially.
It's a conversation.
Yeah,
it's in the works. There's gonna be conversations.
Yep.
There's gonna be some soul searching.
We're really like
some.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah, we're going through a breakup with studios right now, and we're soul searching. So, but anyway, that's all for the episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe as well. We'd really appreciate it, and have a great weekend.